What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Tuesday. Dan Kasper Show on the air on your radio dials of 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online at sportstalk1051.com. You got the video stream that's also up and rolling on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. You got the Sports Talk app. Happy Tuesday. Appreciate you making us a part of your start on this May 2nd. What do we got on the good old game plan here for us for this morning? Well, Brewers are back in action, starting a little bit of a road trip here, going up against the Colorado Rockies. Going to be a late one here, kind of a late one here tonight. 7:40 first pitch. Freddie Peralta on the mound, going to be looking for his fourth win of the season. The Brewers beginning another month. Can they continue their solid start after going 18-10 in the month of April? Can they match that? Can they exceed that? Can they maybe go under that a little bit? As we're kind of looking at this month of May, there's going to be some interesting, potentially some tough series coming up here, but game at a time here, and they start this 3-game set against Colorado. We'll be previewing this and taking a look at this series coming up this morning. Other pitchers slated to start here for the Brewers in this series. You got Lauer and then Wade Miley coming up on Thursday. So we got plenty of baseball talk coming up here. Also, decision 2023. Can we term it that way? Jordan Love. We should find out today whether the Packers decided to pick up a fifth-year option on their quarterback or not. Brian Gutekunst saying after the draft, that's a decision that they'll have to make by Tuesday. Did note that it is a lot of money for a player that they haven't really seen in real games a whole lot there. So there's potentially a couple of scenarios to play out here, but you pick up the fifth-year option? If you do, obviously you're tagged with that fully guaranteed fifth-year salary next year. Not this coming year, but it would be next year. And you're talking about for Love's case about 20-ish, a little over 20-ish million fully guaranteed. Another scenario is you don't pick it up. He's scheduled to be a free agent next year, so he would enter this year in a contract year. If he balls out, maybe you franchise tag him, kind of like the Daniel Jones scenario that the Giants had to go through this past year. But if he does ball out, then you're probably going to have to pay him a little bit more with a new contract. Or another scenario, and this one I would probably be less likely, but do you give Jordan Love a new contract now? Do you give him an extension now where maybe it's like a 2-3 year deal, maybe kind of like a Geno Smith type of contract, very incentive heavy? Now, before I get too far into this, obviously when it comes to new contracts and it takes two to tango, it takes two to agree to this. So I mean, we got to try to figure out a middle ground here. You're kind of playing a little arbitrator, if you will. But if you're the Packers, do you approach potentially Jordan Love with a new contract where maybe the salary cap hit wouldn't be like that $20-some million next year, but it would be lower, but also gives Love maybe a potential opportunity to earn some of that money, very incentive heavy. And again, that it would have to take two to tango. Kind of maybe a little Brewers-esque when, they signed up Freddie Peralta, gave him a long-term deal. Freddie Peralta kind of took the security right away. Maybe probably could earn a little bit more right now if he was up for a new contract for the way he's pitched. But I don't know. There's potentially a few different scenarios out here. But I'll put you in the shoes of one Brian Gutekunst. What would you do? Would you give it the fifth-year option, knowing that it's a fully guaranteed salary next year? Would you have him play out this year? Don't pick up that option. Then you got a couple risks here. One, he balls out. That price tag goes way up there, like the Daniel Jones thing with the Giants. If he doesn't ball out, you potentially could move on, but then you're resetting your quarterback market. Depending on how the season goes, maybe you do have the number one overall pick and you can get Caleb Williams or such. Or do you do maybe like a little 3-year type of deal situation here? We'll keep posted. Anything kind of pops through here, anything breaks or anything like that. But just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Packers did announce yesterday 12 undrafted free agent signings. I believe the last I saw was that the roster is currently standing, at 88. 88 right now. That's 63 veterans, 13 draft picks, 12 college free agents. So the max is obviously that 90. Packers sitting there at 88 players right now. So I'm sure they'll have some tryout players and that sort of thing coming up here too. But I wasn't sure how close they actually were to the 90 there, but they got it done. Nothing like was it the Rams? I think had 24 or 20 some undrafted rookie free agents signing their team, and again, that's a team that's kind of going through their salary cap hits and trying to clear off some on the table, and this might be a little bit of a rebuilding-ish type of year sort of thing, even though they got Stafford and Aaron Donald on their roster yet, and Cooper Kupp and such, but all that money that they kind of brought in and spent, it's kind of coming now to pay the piper at this point. I want to talk a little Bucks now that we are a few days removed from their ouster in the playoffs by the Miami Heat, and kind of take a look at what are the biggest question marks for this Bucks team heading into the offseason. And there's a couple. One of them, obviously, is the Chris Middleton situation. He's got that player option. Now, Bucks could go a couple. I know there's already rumors out there, potentially. I was reading one earlier this morning. Potentially the Dallas Mavericks interested in Chris Middleton. But, I mean, there's a couple different situations go here. Maybe the Bucks approach Chris Middleton about, having a new contract, but lower than that a little over $40 million player option. I don't think the Bucks want to pay that. I don't know of too many fans that would want to pay that for Chris Middleton on there too. But I mean that's a big decision, and you're looking at a Bucks team too that is going to be strapped for some cash. Let's be honest here. They're going to be strapped for cash, and probably puts this season a little bit more in that disappointment category. That they invested a lot of players, a lot of money into this team, and couldn't even get through the first round. But you're looking at unrestricted free agents. Brooke Lopez is on there. Jay Crowder, who was kind of critical of his role after the season, saying that he doesn't know his purpose with Milwaukee. Joe Ingles, Wesley Matthews. The player options. Chris Middleton's 40.4. Javon Carter is at 2.2. I mean, so one big question mark is obviously some of the players in the roster, but also maybe throw in Mike Budenholzer. What's his job status right now? His contract runs through 2024 through 2025. He's got a 69.3 win percentage in the regular season over the last 5 years. Bucks have had the best record in basketball in 3 of them. But in each of those seasons too, that they didn't reach the NBA Finals even in those best records. And 3 times they exited before the conference finals. So you got the Middleton decision. I'd throw Lopez into this. I mean, Lopez, for his age, he balled out this year. I mean, he's gonna get a decent contract, I think, regardless of his age, because I mean he was pretty darn solid here. Bucks, if you're looking at it like, okay, draft picks, they don't own a first round pick because that was part of the PJ Tucker trade in 2021. So I mean, you got some decisions coming up here. And salary cap. The salary cap is projected to be at $134 million with the luxury tax line beginning at 162. And per ESPN, you got because the NBA, you've got all these second luxury tax, and it's a little bit different than obviously the NFL. It's not as like hard. You got the luxury tax where in NFL you've got that hard salary cap line, right? But you're looking at this Bucks right now. They have 6 players already under contract, taking up $119.5 million. Obviously, it's probably likely that the Bucks will be a luxury tax paying team to, fill out the rest of their roster and such. And this isn't anything new for the Bucks because they've done it, the last couple of years here in a row. But you look at that money that they've got invested in just like 6 players, and you're thinking, okay, about 12 players on a team. How do you fill out the rest of those 6? Especially, you got that decision with Middleton and Lopez and all that sort of stuff. Now, John Horst has done a pretty solid job of always building a team and trying to surround Giannis with talent and such. But even with you still got Giannis on that roster, you've got to put together a team that is going to compete for titles, for NBA championships. But how would you go about this Bucks offseason? And what do you think is the biggest question mark that the Bucks have to answer this offseason? Is it, bringing back Middleton in some way or fashion? Do you want Middleton back? Probably not at that $40.4 million, but would you be good if, it was $30 million? Because if he does go up to that $40.4 million, you're talking about a guy who's top 10 in the NBA in terms of money, in terms of being paid. Obviously, there's a lot of concern with that knee injury. How is that knee going to hold up? Is it something that's going to be chronic, that he's going to have to deal with maybe for the rest of his career? More load management, and can you invest a lot of money in a player like that? But would you be good with giving him about $30 million? And I know $30 million still seems like a lot. It is a lot, but we're kind of using that as a baseline according to some of the rumors and reports and numbers out there. And what about Mike Budenholzer? Should he be back? If not, do you have a name out there? I know NBA coaches or basketball coaches, it's not as you probably don't hear a whole lot of names like you do in the NFL. You probably don't. So I know that one might be a little bit tougher to kind of gauge. But I want to hit up some of the biggest question marks surrounding this Bucks team heading into the offseason, and want to hear from you on your thoughts on this Bucks team. What do you think is the biggest question they have to answer? And do you want Middleton and Mike Budenholzer back for 2023-2024 season? So start hitting me up with some text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Find me on Twitter at DANKASPER, Facebook.com /Kasper Sports on there too. We'll catch up with RJ Cardinal, Badger analysts, at about 8:30 here. Take a look at where some of the Badgers were selected. Which fits does he like the most for the Badgers that were selected in the draft? We got Tippmann, who's going to be snapping the ball to one Aaron Rodgers. Steelers picking up a couple Badgers. Keanu Benton going over there to the Steel City, and then Nick Herbig as well going over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Steelers grabbing a couple of Badgers in this previous draft. So we'll see what RJ thinks is the fits that he likes the most for those players. So we'll catch up with him at about 8:30. Right before that, we'll conclude our Chip with Steel chats for the year. Steel ousted from the playoffs on Friday, so we'll catch up with Coach Casey for the final time for the season at about 8ish. So we'll do a little pop quiz Tuesday. It is a grind my gears Tuesday as well. So if there's anything that's grinding your gears that you want to get off your chest, hit us up with those texts 715-830-1912. But let's take our first break and then we'll hit up the leadoff here. It's a toss up Tuesday, so we're going to toss up a bunch of different topics in the first hour here. Focus on the Brewers taking on the Rockies. We'll preview that series, preview game 1 coming up here. Then we'll talk a little Bucks. What do you think is the biggest question mark surrounding this offseason for the Milwaukee Bucks? And then the Jordan Love fifth-year options. How would you go about that? How would you give him the fifth-year option? Would you make him play out this year in a contract year? Maybe try to sign him to an extension now if that means lower cap hits. How would you go about it? Let's get at it. Take that first break and then the leadoff coming up to kick off your Tuesday morning. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. got opening fishing coming up this weekend. Spring turkey hunting season still going on too. Don't forget, if you're having any luck or if you have any luck this weekend, to send on over your photos so we can put them up on the Tilden Gun trophy board, trophy gallery up on our website, sportstalk1051.com. Just head on over there and click on the outdoors tab, because all of you are listening right now. You submit a photo, you're going to be a part of our pro staff. All right. So check out all the awesome photos that are already up there. And thanks to everybody who's sent over some of their photos. And don't forget, for whatever hunting firearm needs you need, Tilden Gun is your place to go. Locally owned, family operated Tilden Gun. You can also check out their website, tildengun.com, to check out their massive selection, all at the best prices in the area as well. All right, let's get things going here this morning. Let's preview this Brewers game 1 against the Colorado Rockies. And let's throw another question out to you all. I know yesterday we asked, who do you think was like the player of the month for the Brewers in April? So getting ready as we kick off the month of May here for the Brewers, since they had the off day yesterday, who's the player to watch? Or if you want to take in a different approach, I guess, here a little bit, who's the player that needs to rise up in the month of May? Like the flowers blooming in May and sprouting in May, who's that player for the Brewers for this month of May? Who's got to be that guy, that player, to rise up out of the ground? Sprout. I'm trying to be poetic here, and I just can't. But who's that player that has to rise up in the month of May? Or who's that player to watch in the month of May? And at what point? Because I feel like a lot of people are going to say the same player, and that's Christian Yelich. But at what point do we stop saying Christian Yelich? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is Christian Yelich just what he is right now is what he's going to be? It is what it is. Or do you still feel like he's got an opportunity to rise up and, be, I'm just going to generalize it, 275, 280 hitter, 25, 30 home runs, 90 RBIs, whatever line you want? I mean, at what point are you done saying, I'm done saying it's got to be Christian Yelich, just because it's not going to happen anymore? It's just not going to happen. So give me your players. I'll give you my player coming up here in just a little bit here too. But Brewers opening up the month of May, 1.5 back from the Pittsburgh Pirates in the division. Pirates sitting there at 29, Brewers 18-10. Freddie Peralta is going to get the start for the Brewer Crew tonight. Kind of taking a look at some of the pitching, the pitching matchups and the lineups here, the success. So Chris Bryant obviously has a lot of experience going up against Freddie Peralta, obviously with his time with Chicago and such there. But in 16 career at-bats against Freddie Peralta, Bryant is just a 188 hitter. And you look at Chris Bryant right now, and he's not off to a bad start here for the Rockies. Guys got to stay healthy, but 297, 3 home runs with 30 hits and 101 at-bats. But throughout his career against Freddie Peralta, Chris Bryant just 188 and 16 at-bats. Some other players with some decent amount of play. Charlie Blackmon has 9 at-bats against Freddie Peralta, just 111 against him too. How about Mike Moustakas, the former Brewer, on there? He's got 8 career at-bats going up against Freddie Peralta and 375, and that's pretty much about it. In terms, I mean, you've got a couple players that, a couple at-bats here, there, or one, but outside of, Charlie Blackmon and Chris Bryant and Moustakas, not a whole lot there. On the other side, Ryan Feltner is going to be the starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies tonight, and Ryan's coming off of back-to-back wins for the Rockies, going back to the 20th of April. picked up his first win of the season against the Phillies, where he went 5 2/3, giving up just 3 hits, no earned runs, striking out 6, 3 walks. Followed that up with a win against Cleveland on the 25th. Pitched 6 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. So in his last 2 games, he's been 2-0, giving up just 8 total hits, no earned runs, 12 strikeouts, and 3 walks. So obviously coming off of 2 solid performances, can this Brewers offense have any success against him? Well, if we look at history here just a little bit, not a ton of experience. You got Contreras with 5 at-bats going up against Ryan. He's hitting 400. Other than that, it's like a game's worth because Yelich is 1 for 3. Tellez is 2 for 3. And that's about it. That's about it. So not a ton of experience going up against Ryan. So that's kind of your pitching preview for the game coming up here tonight in game 1 of this 3-game series before the series moves to San Francisco for the weekend beginning on Friday night. But now we move into the month of May here for the Brew Crew, and I know we've been kind of looking at it, looking ahead here, looking at this schedule for May. You know, you begin on the road with Colorado, with the Giants. You return home the beginning part of next week, hitting up the Dodgers. And then you got Kansas City next weekend, followed up with a road trip to St. Louis, and then road trip to the red-hot Tampa Bay Rays. Then you return home against Houston, San Francisco, then finish the month of May going up against Toronto on the road. So, I mean, you've got some tough series, tough matchups coming up here in the month of May. So, with that, who's the player that maybe had a little bit of a down month in April or maybe didn't hit up or live up to the expectations in April that really needs to rise in May? Or if you want to go a different direction here, who's that player that maybe had a good month of April and needs to continue that coming up here in the month of May? I mean, we could pick a few different players on this. There's not just one. There's not just one guy on here. There's a few different options we can go here. One of them that I'm going to go through a few of them, but one of them I'd probably throw into that equation might be Corbin Burnes. I think I might throw Corbin Burnes into this. Now, I don't have it all planned out on like who he's going to face and such, but since he's not facing the Rockies here, he's going to be going up against the Giants, which I'm assuming means he will not be going up against the Dodgers. But, you know, if I'm looking at a guy like Corbin Burnes, and Corbin Burnes probably didn't have a month of April that he expected or the team or heck, even the national pundits out there expect that. There was high expectations for Corbin Burnes this year. There were, preseason expectations, Cy Young, strikeout leader, that sort of thing. And when you look at what Corbin Burnes has done so far this season, yeah, he's 3-1, but 4.01 ERA. He's coming off of a win against the Angels where he put up 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. But haven't really seen a lot of the strikeouts coming from Corbin. Maybe, last year he had that streak of not issuing was it a walk and such, and he's kind of had a couple of issues here. Nothing too extreme here, but nothing like what it was last year. But maybe, just maybe, and we've had high expectations for Corbin Burnes. There's no doubt. I mean, we had him on a pedestal, or we have him on a pedestal. That ace, he's the dude. So I look at, okay, I want to see maybe a little bit more of a consistency, a little bit more of that dominant Corbin Burnes heading into the month of May. Looking at the potential, or I shouldn't say potential, looking at the matchups, these series that we got coming up here. So I'd probably throw him in there. I think you can make a case for Wade Miley. Can he continue? He was my player of the month for April. If I had to only pick one, he was my player. But you can make the case, I think, for a guy like Wade Miley to continue what he did in April. That's a tough ask. That's a tough task. But I'd throw him into that equation here too. Offensively, maybe you're looking at, Willie Adames, who's, 5 home runs, hitting 240 so far this year. His on-base percentage is higher than his career numbers. He's 350 right now, career 324. His OPS is 780, which is right around his career highs, or career average, I should say, 771. But you look at his last 7 games so far for Willie Adames, last 7 games and 21 at-bats, dude's only hitting 0.095. Slugging is just a 238. On-base percentage is just 259. That's his last 21 at-bats. So I think you can make a case. I'd throw Willie Adames in that conversation. I'd nominate him as a guy that I want to see have a really good month of May. And then, you can make a case for Contreras. Hey, Contreras continuing his solid start to the season. Brian Anderson's leading the team in RBIs right now. Maybe you want to see a little bit more from Jesse Winker. The DH, his last 20 at-bats, just $150. No dingers, just 2 RBIs. I'd throw him in as a nomination too, as a guy that I want to see step up in the month of May. So I know I asked you for one, but I kind of gave you, I guess, my 3 or 4. Jesse Winker, Willie Adames, Corbin Burns. And maybe you could say, okay, whoever that is, it Colin Ray that's going to continue to get the starts for Brandon Woodruff until Brandon Woodruff is back, and what they're hoping it could be in June at some point. But the rest of the starting pitching staff's going to have to, kind of pick it up and maybe match Wade Miley right now. But can Wade Miley continue that start that he's had? But I want to see a little bit more from Jesse Winker. I want to see a little bit more from Willie Adames. And I know a lot of people are going to continue to say Christian Yelich, but the question I have is, when do we stop saying that? And for some, you'll probably say, well, we'll stop saying that when he starts hitting 275 and 30 home runs and 90 RBIs and starts playing at that superstar level with the contract that he got. And that's fair. I ain't going to argue with you on that. Some might be like, you know what? It is what it is. He is what he is right now. And right now he's a 223, at best maybe a 250 hitter. Not going to give you the 30-plus home runs a year anymore. He's going to be a leadoff hitter and maybe lead your team in runs, and that's about it. But you look at his last 22 at-bats for Christian Yelich, 182 with an on-base of a 308. Slogan's 227. And so far this year, his numbers are not matching his career numbers in both average, on-base, and OPS. OPS is actually almost down 200 points compared to his career averages. But at what point do you just kind of say, how many years we've gone through it, a couple years? At what point, I guess, now is when you start to lower those expectations for a guy like Yelich. And maybe you don't. You won't ever, because of that contract he signed, and you're paying him to be a superstar, and you're going to keep holding him to that level until he starts performing at a superstar level. And I can't argue with that. I can't. Your thoughts, you can hit us up with those texts at 715-830-1912 on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Take a quick break, and then Bucks' biggest offseason question marks. What do you think is the biggest question mark heading into this Bucks offseason? Now that we've had, a few days to let the playoff loss marinate here a little bit, taking some of the emotion out of it. We know a couple of those biggest questions. Chris Middleton, Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez, an unrestricted free agent. Chris Middleton has had a huge player option. What do you do with that? Team's already kind of stretched thin with the salary cap. Mike Budenholzer's job status. If not Mike, who? I know it's a little bit harder to find or to kind of name off some coaches out there compared to like the NFL where, it seems like we know every offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator or former head coach that's already out there. But if you got a name in mind, I'd love to hear it. So let's take that break and then we'll finish up the second hour. Bucks off season. We'll hit that up. Coming up in just a couple minutes. Speaking of cabin coffee over there, we got so if you've probably heard some of our conversations with Mr. Joe, one of the owners of Cabin Coffee, former Badger offensive lineman, by the way. But so we're having a little fun thing here. If you haven't seen it on social media, if you don't have Facebook, I'll tell you about it right now. But so he's got his go-to drink over there, and we're looking for a name for it. We're looking for a name for it. It's an iced breve with sugar-free caramel, sugar-free vanilla, and sugar-free chocolate. That's Joe's go-to. So we need a name for it. We want to have some fun with this. If you have any nominations or if you have an idea, send those babies on over. Okay, I want to be able to give them a good list there, and we'll cut it down to a final three and put it to a vote. But what should we call this former Badger offensive lineman's go-to coffee beverage? What name should we put this, attach it to? All right, give me your thoughts. You can email it, text it, tweet it, or comment on the post from last week on the Facebook page if that's easier for you. So, want some suggestions? Have some fun with this. Send those puppies on over. Okay. We'll finish up this first hour talking a little Bucks here. Bucks, now that we've had a few days to let it kind of calm down, maybe not so much after their postseason ouster by the Miami Heat. But now this is an off season where the Bucks have some tough decisions, interesting decisions that they will have to make. One of them obviously being with the roster construction. Do you bring back Brook Lopez, who is a free agent? You have the Chris Middleton player option, which is at about $40.4 million. And then probably the other big question, too, is the job status of Mike Budenholzer. You know, Mike Budenholzer, you can't argue with regular season numbers, but it's all about what you do in the postseason. Great that you get there, but I think it's fair to say they got one championship, but there's been some question marks surrounding the postseason for Mike Budenholzer and that sort of thing too. So those are probably, I would say, the two biggest ones: roster construction with Brook Lopez being an unrestricted free agent and the player option for Chris Middleton, and then Mike Budenholzer. In case anybody's asking, like, who are some other free agents coming up here for this offseason? I mean, you've got Russell Westbrook, James Harden, potentially there too. Middleton, Kyrie Irving, Kristaps Porzingis, D'Angelo Russell, Kevin Love. I mean, you can Google it and see the entire list on there if you like. But I think the Middleton one here is interesting, and our good buddy Jim Ozarski from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel has a good piece up from just a couple days ago. What is next for the Bucks? Everything on Mike Budenholzer's contract, free agents, cap situation, and a whole lot more. So he does a fantastic job of breaking this all down, especially when it comes to free agents and Middleton's player options and such. So when you look at this, Middleton, who will be 32 years old next year. Lopez is going to be 35. Middleton, obviously, and I've been saying obviously a lot this morning, and I apologize, but Middleton with the knee injury, with the knee issue, it's going to be the biggest question mark surrounding this Bucks team. How comfortable are they going to be with that knee? Is that something that's going to linger throughout the rest of his career? Do we even know the answer to that at this point? And how much money are you willing to give a guy if there might be some issues with his knee throughout the rest of his career? I mean, if you're already thinking like load management, that sort of thing, and you're going to give a guy $30-some million, how do you feel about that? I'd be a little bit nervous. So remember, there's a new collective bargaining agreement between the NBA and that. So the salary cap is projected to be $134 million, with the first luxury tax line being at $162 million. They have a newly implemented second luxury tax line which is at $169 million. Just kind of going through here a little bit here. So with the 6 players that are already under contract for the Bucks, so I gave you kind of those numbers, that's already taken up $119.5 million. So Bucks, I mean, the luxury tax isn't anything new for this Bucks team. They've done it for the last couple of years here. So it's not anything new. It could be probably their 3rd year in a row, and according to Jim here in the article, that will trigger the more more penalties here with the repeater tax. But it won't be until the 2024-2025 offseason is when bigger penalties for staying in the tax are levied. So, I mean, you factor all that in, tough decisions are going to have to be made for this Bucks roster and who to keep and who maybe to move on from. So we know the Bucks are going to be very, very limited money-wise, cash-wise, in surrounding Giannis and filling out this team. Especially if, Middleton opts into his deal or the Bucks select to re-sign Brook Lopez. It almost feels like it's either got to be Middleton or Brook Lopez. So if it came down to Middleton or Brook Lopez, Middleton's 3 years younger than Brook Lopez, but Lopez had a solid year this past year. If it came down to those two, and you can only keep one, who would you keep, Middleton or Lopez? I have to think about that one for a little bit. Again, the wild card in this whole thing is Middleton's knee. Is that something that you're going to have to factor in for because if that is, I don't know about. I like Middleton. I think he's a solid Robin. I don't know if it's worth keeping him around. And if it comes down to keeping one of those two guys, oof. Or do you move on from both and try to just bring in some new blood, some new players, some different free agents? How would you go about constructing this roster? And then Mike Budenholzer, do you bring him back? Do you bring him back on the hot seat? I feel like the Bucks are going to bring him back, but I feel like that hot seat's kind of hot right now, pretty warm. Spotlight's on. I just don't know off the top of my head who else would you bring in? If you want an established coach out there, who would you bring in at this point, realistically? Or do you try your hand at a hot shot assistant right now? I feel like the Bucks will bring back Budenholzer. I could be completely wrong, though. But the Middleton and Lopez one might be an interesting debate. If you can only pick one, if you can only keep one, who would that be? The older Brook Lopez, but maybe a little bit healthier? Or Chris Middleton, who is younger but has been dealing with some knee issues? Because I think Middleton will probably still cost more than Brook Lopez, but, I mean, Lopez has a great arguing case for another sizable deal. Maybe not a long-term deal, but a nice sizable payday considering the season that he just had. And that's going to be a tough decision for John Horst, general manager of the Bucks, and that team to kind of have to figure out here. But I feel like this Bucks team is going to look a little different next year. Obviously Giannis is still going to be there. Drew Holiday is still going to be there. Drew Holiday's 33. They don't have a first-round pick. So, I mean, how are they going to kind of bring in cheaper, younger talent? Do they need an influx of younger talent, or do they go with a bunch of, last run-of-the-mill veterans to try to run it back for another year? We'll find out. We got a couple minutes to the top. Good morning, Morgan.
Hey, how's Kasper today?
Good. How are you?
All right. How you feeling about life right now?
I'm feeling okay.
It's National Teacher Day. So if you had to go down the list, do you have a top-of-the-line favorite teacher that immediately comes to mind?
Yeah, there's a couple. I'd probably go Mr. Waller, 3rd grade, Mr. Wilson, freshman year.
Oh, what did Mr. Wilson teach?
Mr. Wilson was like a science and conservation, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But he's the football coach over there too.
Okay, so he
So.
was double dipping into both roles.
Mhm.
Now, what about you? Do you remember your history geography teacher back in the day?
Mr. Dallas was a great history teacher.
You want to make
Yep.
Mr. Dallas proud here?
Oh boy.
Little.
Well, what kind of history?
No, we're gonna do more geography focused
Oh,
stuff.
I'm not geography.
Okay, we'll try. We'll try it
Okay.
on National Teacher Day. See if we can make Mr. Dallas proud here.
So social studies, though, geography, history combination, like what is social studies now?
Civics. I think more like civics, sociology, that kind of thing. Probably more like wrapped up in that area. So this is mostly geography, but we're gonna see if we can make the Mr. What was it, Mr. Dallas?
Mr. Dallas.
Mr. Dallas from Medford proud. The name of the tallest mountain in the world, Casper.
Tallest mountain, is it Everest?
It is.
Okay.
All right, we're warming up now. What country has the largest population in the world?
Which country? Is it China?
It is.
Okay.
But it may be soon overcome by India.
India, that was my second guess.
Okay. Now we're moving on to question 3. 7 continents. Can you name them all?
Oh gosh, this is always the trick one. So continents: North America,
Okay.
South America,
Sure.
Asia.
Sure.
Am I wrong?
No, you're
Okay.
right.
Antarctica.
Hey, ding, ding, ding.
Okay. Africa.
Yes. 2 more.
Down
under.
Yeah, Australia.
There you go. You got a hint.
Europe's not a continent, though. Is it? Okay.
Okay,
That's
there
the
you
one
go.
that always kind of fools me a little bit. So.
And a little bit of knowledge you may or may not be aware of Lady Liberty's crown on the Statue of Liberty. Those 7 points signify the 7 continents. So that's what the points on her crown are for. All right. Then you got to go to oceans. We did the land masses. Let's do the 5 oceans, Casper.
Pacific, Atlantic, Arctic, Indian.
That's my hint.
I said Arctic.
Did you say it?
Yeah.
Okay, Antarctic Ocean.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Then your last one. This is especially for you. Mr. Dallas on the line. You're almost a perfect A on this. I have it. What
Pacific,
U.S. state
Atlantic
is home to no documented poisonous snakes?
To no documented poisonous snakes.
This is where you want to go, right?
It's not Wisconsin.
No documented poisonous snakes. One state in the union. Casper sweeping the win if you can come up with this state. Correct.
Yes.
Look at you representing today.
Got it.
Take a bow,
I had to think
Mr.
of a
Casper.
cold weather climate that was.
That's kind of incentive to move there, right?
It is.
All right.
Yeah,
Start packing.
That's why I don't like going down too further down south of Wisconsin.
No, it gets more poisonous.
Rattlers.
Yeah, it's no good.
I don't need to see that crap.
You got to hike it up north to Alaska.
All right. Or just move to Canada.
There's that option too.
All right. 1 in already this morning. We're going to talk a little Jordan Love coming up in just a few minutes. All right, second hour kicking off on this Tuesday morning. Big thanks for making us a part of your start on this May 2nd. We're going to chat a little fifth-year option Jordan Love, maybe some possible other options out there. If you were Packers general manager Brian Gutekunst, how would you handle this situation with the fifth-year option for Jordan Love? Haven't heard anything official yet. We'll buy it today, though. So looking at the texting line here, it's dead split, 50-50 on whether you would keep either Chris Middleton or Brooke Lopez if it came down to either he or he situation. Literally, it's 50-50. Got quite a few of you chiming in on that certain topic, but just a couple of you saying this is on text here. If you can only keep one, I'm bringing back Middleton. Also, would prefer to see Bud gone and the Bucks take a run at the newly fired Nick Nurse, former coach of Toronto. Another texter, Big Worm. Lopez has to stay. Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Sign and trade Middleton. Package him with Holiday and go all out for Damian Lillard. I think Hudson would absolutely love that one. But a lot of you just saying Lopez or Middleton on there. So it's a dead heat of 50-50 right now. Do you want to throw in your 2 cents worth? Hit us up with the text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. If it came down to it where you could only keep Brooke Lopez or Chris Middleton for the Bucks, which one would you keep on there? Maybe I'll put up a Twitter poll question on there too. See what the Twitter world has to say on that. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day brought to you by ANSI Associates. It was 1876. Ross Barnes hit the first home run in the National League. Let's go with Walter Johnson, 1923, pitched his 100th shutout. 1939, Lou Gehrig set a new Major League Baseball record when he played in his 2,130th game. That streak began on June 1st of 1925. We've got, so let's go. We got anything else? Yeah, 1958, the New York Yankees threatened to broadcast games nationwide if the National League went ahead with plans to broadcast their games into New York. Okay. Pete Rose was suspended for 30 games for pushing an umpire in 1988. The Dallas Cowboys practice bubble collapsed. I remember this, 2009. Practice bubble collapsed during a storm during a practice. At the time, 27 players were working out. Almost all were drafted the weekend prior or signed as undrafted rookies. 12 people were injured. I remember that when that happened. So those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day, brought to you by, again, ANSI Associates. So today we should know what the plan or what the decision is for Jordan Love's fifth-year option. I still feel like the Packers are going to pick it up. Now, it kind of made – well, first of all, let's rewind it here a little bit to – was it a couple months ago, a few months ago, when Goody essentially said in a presser that kind of, he pretty much insinuated, hinted at that they had their decision made on whether they were going to pick up the fifth-year option for Love. Now, maybe they did have a decision made a few months ago, but considering recent events and that sort of thing, maybe some things have changed. I don't know. But after the draft, Goody, essentially kind of, I don't want to say pushing back on it because I think that's a little dramatic, but he did kind of raise a little bit of eyebrows when he said after the draft in his presser that got to figure that out by Tuesday. When he was on a follow-up question, when he was asked the reason to not pick it up, he said it's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't played. But at the same time, we're moving forward with him as the starter. So I think everybody kind of looked at that one line where, he said it's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't played. And he's right. I don't think anybody's disagreeing with Goody at this point. It is a lot of money for a guy we have seen play one full game a couple of years ago and then, a good quarter against the Eagles this past season. You're talking about $20-some million guaranteed. So what other options could there be available if it's not the fifth-year option? Well, yeah, you don't pick it up and he plays in a contract year. It would be the Daniel Jones situation with what the Giants did this last year. Daniel Jones has a decent year, helps lead the ball club to the postseason. Daniel Jones gets a huge contract. You can argue whether you would have given Daniel Jones that contract or not, but the fact is that he got a huge contract. So I mean, you run that risk of like, okay, Jordan Love balling out, leads the Packers to the postseason, has a good year. You're going to pay him more than $20-some million. Now, the counter to that could be, well, maybe the cap hit could be a little bit less. But I mean, if you're talking about a guy potentially, the thing is, with how these markets go and the quarterback markets go in the NFL, Jordan Love could go out there and ball out this year, 1 year, just 1 year. And you don't have that fifth-year option, you're probably talking about $40-some-ish million per year already. So that's the risk taken if you don't pick up the fifth-year option. He goes out there and he absolutely balls out. You're going to have to pay the piper after you just got done paying the piper on one other quarterback. Another option would be you could franchise tag him. That gets dicey because you have players who will, sign that franchise tender and they'll play under it for a year or whatever. Do you do the whole Kirk Cousins type of route when he was with Washington? Or maybe he doesn't want to play under a franchise tag tender. Then you got a little bit of, of a wrestling match there. But at least you would have that kind of, safety net, if you will, to not allow him to sign with another team and maybe negotiate a long-term deal. Or is the other option potentially, and I don't think Jordan Love would do this one, but I could be completely wrong. But I was thinking of it from a Packers side of things. What if do you sign Jordan Love to an extension now? And that one would get a little bit tricky because what would the cap hit look like for this year? But what if you were to put out a 2-3 year extension? 2-3 year extension right now, where your cap hit next year wouldn't be so astronomical. Wouldn't be the $20-some million cap hit. But you're covered for a couple years. You put a lot of incentives in that thing, bonuses, certain marks for Love to hit that, you know what? You play at a high level, you're going to get paid. Now, I don't feel like Love and his representation, David Dunn, who is also the agent for one Aaron Charles Rodgers, would necessarily agree to that, but it's an option potentially out there. Maybe it's an option Green Bay has kind of floated out there. I mean, do you do a 2-3 year deal, maybe like a Geno Smith type of deal that he did with the Seahawks, kind of a prove it type of thing? Or maybe, I don't know. I'm not a contract expert. I don't know what kind of language you could kind of put into that thing, but maybe it's something like, hey, if he goes out there and puts up great numbers and such, maybe it's something that you could put in there that something voids, and then you have to redo the contract so he gets a bigger deal or something like that. I don't know if you can do a voided thing like that. I really don't know off the top of my head. I'm not going to pretend like I do. But there's a couple of different options. So what would you do if you were in Goody's shoes right now? What would you do? Pick up the fifth year? Let him go into this contract year, see what we got with him? Might not necessarily be fair. It would be just one full season to kind of make that judgment on him. But hey, it's the NFL. I still feel like they're probably going to do the fifth year. I feel like that's the safest route. It's probably the route that I would go about. I mean, if you do the fifth year, you're essentially stuck with him next year too. And stuck might be a little dramatic there. But, I mean, you're committing to him for this year and next year. But are we at a scenario where Green Bay's actually considering this? Washington didn't pick up the fifth-year option on Chase Young. Chase Young was the second overall pick just a few years ago in that draft. Won Defensive Player of the Year, but injuries kind of derailed the beginning part of his career so far. And let's just say, what kind of other messages would that send within maybe the locker room or within the franchise too if the Packers don't pick up a fifth-year option for Love? Does that send a message? Does that, maybe is that a motivating message for Love? Maybe that's maybe it could be a negative message to the rest of in the clubhouse. Like, okay, you guys moved on from Rodgers and saying that Love's the guy, but yeah, you're not committing to him past this current year. I mean, could that also be a kind of a negative message that you're sending throughout your team, throughout that locker room? There's so many levels to this, and there's so many different variables to this that, for one positive, I feel like there's a negative that's attached to it. If you go one way, well, then you got to counter for this. You got to go, a bunch of different ways. Ultimately, I still feel like Love is going to get the fifth-year option. If he goes out this year and puts up some good numbers, some solid numbers, that gives the Packers the confidence in the world that he's their guy, that he's their long-term guy, then there's a very, very good chance that next year he's going to get a contract extension that will lower that fifth-year option cap hit. Like Rashawn Gary, we're all just kind of expecting or assuming that this year at some point he's going to get a contract extension because he's playing under that fifth-year option. It's a high cap hit. And why those fifth-year options are such high cap hits? Because it's a fully guaranteed salary for that final year. It's only for first-round picks. That's why we're all assuming that at some point, Gary, whether it's going to be this year or when the season starts at some point, he's going to get a new contract that's going to lower that cap hit for this year. Darnell Savage had his fifth-year option picked up. And for some, you can kind of make the case, well, that one bit them in the butt because now they're paying $7-8 million for a safety slot corner that, at best hasn't been consistent in his play. But I feel like it's only fair to give Love this year and even next year too. And I don't know, what if something goes absolutely terribly wrong this year and Green Bay gets the number one overall pick, then yeah, you got you got a decision on your end. They're probably going to get a quarterback, I would assume, and it probably would be Caleb Williams or something. But ultimately, I feel like the smart move, in my opinion, is pick up the fifth-year option. He goes out there, has a solid year, may not have a bunch of wins, but is similar to what Aaron Rodgers did in 2008. They finished 6-10, but you could tell. I don't think anybody even in 2008 thought Aaron Rodgers was going to be, a four-time MVP award winner, labeled as one of the best throwers of the football in history. Even after that 2008 season, I don't know of too many people. I don't know of anybody. I'm sure some will claim that they were, but I don't know of anybody who would have thought at that point, even after that season, he would have won 4 MVPs and such. But we saw glimpses like, okay, he could be a starter. He's a starter in his league. That's what we want to see from Jordan Love this year. We want to see those glimpses. We want to. There's going to be up and down moments. There's going to be some good plays. There's going to be some bad plays. It's going to be all over the place. You hope for more good than bad, obviously. But you just want to see that from Love this year. And if we see that from Love this year, He's probably going to get a contract extension. Then that, fifth year option hit that he's going to have next year's going to go down because of the extension. What kind of extension will that look like? It's all going to be dependent on how he plays. Maybe it's a similar to a Geno Smith or Derek Carr type of contract, shorter extension, shorter contract. Although he's probably going to want, a longer term deal like these other guys like Jalen Hurts and those guys are getting. I mean, look at Jalen Hurts for crying out loud. You want to talk about how 1 year makes a difference? Look at Jalen Hurts. It was a year ago. It was still a year ago that there was talk about who's the quarterback going to be for Philly. I mean, there was like, hey, could Russell Wilson go there? There was even a little chat about Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson for crying out loud. There were still question marks about Jalen Hurts. He goes out there, has an MVP type of season, leads the Eagles to the Super Bowl. Now he's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the entire league, all off this 1 year. That's what 1 year can make a difference. Whether it's right or wrong, that's how the market is in the NFL. 1 year makes all the difference. So, I mean, we've got a lot of question marks surrounding this ball club heading into this year. We highlighted a couple of those yesterday. LaFleur, Barry, Jordan Love. This is going to be, I'll tell you right now, I have no idea what in the world to expect. I know some people are already saying, well, this looks like a 7-win team or an 8-win team and all that. I have no flipping idea. I have no flipping idea of what to expect from this ball club. I I don't even know what to expect from a defense that has 8, 9, how many first rounders they freaking have right now because of how they played last year. Great, they played good football down the stretch. But what about the first like 3 quarters of the season? I don't know what to expect. I have no idea. I've been battling with that in my mind for the last couple days here, and it's only just now May. It's like, well, maybe could they do like a Seattle last year, maybe surprise some teams and kind of squeak in? It would all be dependent on how well their defense plays and if they can keep that running game going, and that's a focal point. And then, Jordan Love plays a little like Geno Smith last year. That might be best case scenario. Worst case scenario is like it's just, ugh. You're playing a lot of young guys with inexperience, and nothing is just working right. So I don't know. Your thoughts, you can let us know. Hit us up with some texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. All right, we'll take a quick break. Don't forget, send me your picks too for if it was between Middleton or Lopez. If it came down to that decision for this offseason for the Bucks, who would you pick? Middleton or Lopez? Also, who's the Milwaukee Brewers player that needs to maybe rise up since it's May? We were talking about players of the month for April yesterday. Who's got to be that player or players for the month of May for the Brewers to either rise up or maybe continue what they were doing in April? Who do you have your eyes on for the month of May now that the Brewers are starting off their season tonight against Colorado? Make your picks. Okay, let me know. We'll take a quick break and we'll chat a little bit more green and gold coming up after these few words.
It's Sports Out the Squeaker.
The Dan Kasper Show.
Summer projects are coming up, so what's on your to-do list this year? Well, if I had any say in your to-do list, it would be to update that flooring of yours. Maybe a new carpet in the bedroom, replacing your kitchen floor with some luxury vinyl planks, or some nice tile in the bathroom. Hey, just saying, because chances are that room in your house, you do have a room in your house that could use a good flooring update. So why not make it easier on yourself with this project and visit our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center right here in Eau Claire. I mean, my own grandma's even used them twice in the past year to replace some flooring. So if my grandma likes them and trusts them, you can too. And she likes and trusts them because of the customer service, top-notch customer service from when you walk into the store to the install team. Add in the best selection and prices, and you've got yourself a home run. So take a look at that to-do list this year and move up replacing that floor in your home. Then head to Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Chat with the awesome team there to find that perfect floor for your home and your budget. A couple of texts here, majority of you agreeing, saying that they should just get it done and pick up the fifth-year option for Jordan Love. Jordan texted in, I think they have to pick up the fifth-year option. Not sure how they can know how good he really is after one season. Look at how Rodgers played his first season. Well, I would argue, though, like the 2008 season, Rodgers didn't play that bad. I mean, he threw for over 4,000 yards and 28 touchdowns and 13 picks. It was more of a defensive collapse in a lot of those games in 2008. So I wouldn't say that Rodgers played awful in 2008. We saw moments that I think kind of made everybody feel pretty good that, okay, he was going to be a solid player. I don't think anybody predicted 4 MVPs or, Hall of Fame career after just 1 year. But I think there were glimpses like, okay, this guy could be a starter here. You're feeling a little bit better and such. So, but we'll find out later on today whether the Packers have picked up that fifth-year option or not on Jordan Love, maybe going a little bit longer than what many of us have expected at this point. So, but we'll chat a little bit more green and gold here. Joe, what did you think of the without grading the draft class, because we don't grade draft classes after 2 days of selections, but what did you think of the draft class so far, or what the Packers did this past weekend?
You know what? I liked it a lot. I thought Goody did a nice job of staying true to the board. And when I talk about the board, I mean the Packers board, but also where the board and where the depth of the draft was. Because, and you look at the Lucas Van Ness pick, and I know you and I both picked in our mock draft Smith-Njigba, who was there at the time, the wide receiver from Ohio State. But when you look at the Van Ness pick, and then you look at the drop that happened with edge rushers toward the end of the first round, I don't think the Packers get a guy that can come in and contribute at that edge rush position in a second round. And so Green Bay played the board. They knew that the strength of the draft was truly at that tight end position and a little bit in that slot receiver position. And so again, with Van Ness, and you look at Van Ness and a lot of comparisons, both physically and what he did on the field with Rashawn Gary. And people talked about he didn't start and et cetera, et cetera. The guy finished games. He was one of the leaders in pressures. He was one of the leaders in snaps. And so I think that was a good value pick there. And, when they drafted Jaden Reed, I have to be honest, that was a guy that was off my radar. The more that I've looked at tape now on him, the more I like him. He's a little bit of a bigger slot. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. So he's not one of those guys that's 5'9", 175. So I thought they did a really nice job there. I look at Musgrave and Kraft, and I just see Green Bay going a lot of 12 personnel this year with 2 tight ends, 1 running back. And again, the comparisons I make with Musgrave and Kraft, it's a little bit Chimura and Keith Jackson, and I compare Jackson a little bit more to Musgrave and Chimura a little bit more to Kraft. But look at what Belichick did in 2010. He goes out and drafts Gronk in the second round, and then he gets Aaron Hernandez in the 4th round. And we all know what happened to Aaron Hernandez's career, but when those two were there, that double tight end that principle was a staple of Belichick's offense back then. And so I thought Green Bay did a really nice job. And the last thing that I want to bring up as far as how this draft looked, the last time Green Bay drafted 13 players was 2000, and they got draft. They got Bubba Franks, Chad Clifton, Niall Diggs, Kabir Biamila, and Mark Tauscher. And so Green Bay can pull off 5 starters out of this draft. And again, I think they got good value throughout. I just think Goody did a really nice job of playing the board, restocking the talent and the depth of this football team when they don't have a lot of cap room to play with, and again, playing to the strength of the draft.
Was there a pick that was your favorite? That kind of like maybe it was a 6th or 7th round or 5th round pick that you really liked from Goody over the weekend?
Yeah, I really love the defensive line picks. Both of those, Colby Wooden, the defensive lineman out of Auburn. They picked him 116th in the 4th round. 8.5 tackles for loss in 3 straight seasons. He's got a relative athletic score of 9.24. I think this guy you can plug and play him anywhere along the lines. And then Carl Brooks. I love this guy, the defensive lineman from Bowling Green. 46 tackles for loss in 20 career sacks, 6'3", 296, and they were playing him outside of the 3 technique. So those, I think, from a just a value pick and where you can plug and play players, I like both of the defensive linemen. And again, I love the tight end picks and I love some of the other picks, but those were the 2 that jumped out as later round picks that I really fell in love with.
Did this draft tell you anything else about the current structure, or maybe the better way to phrase this is that, were you disappointed that they didn't address a certain need, maybe like safety earlier on or offensive line in this draft? Or does this tell you that, hey, maybe Adrian Amos, who Goody said that they're still in contact with, is coming back? I mean, do you kind of wish Green Bay would have addressed other areas in this draft? I mean, they didn't take an offensive lineman, which seems like it's almost like a sin when it comes to Green Bay.
Yeah, first of all, the safety position, this wasn't a great safety draft. I liked Branch. No other safeties jumped off the board to me. And to quote Pat Kerwin from NFL Network and NFL Radio, they call him the Jags out there, just a guy. I thought there were a lot of just a guys out there at the safety position. And I think Green Bay has some guys right now at that position. So, it's interesting, Captain, when you look at the numbers that were given out to this rookie class, it kind of jumped out to me that 89, 2, and 31 were not given out. And, of course, Mercedes Lewis, Mason Crosby, and then Adrian Amos. And so that kind of told me that the door is probably still open for Green Bay and Adrian Amos to possibly reunite. And I wouldn't hate that at all. I know a lot of people are saying, Green Bay's not going to win the Super Bowl this year. Adrian Amos isn't going to put them over, so why spend the money on that? I think the locker room needs guys like that. And I'll say it. If Mercedes Lewis doesn't want to go to New York and play for the Jets, like everyone else who played with Aaron Rodgers, I think he'd be great in that locker room as well for these young tight ends. But yeah, I mean, the offensive line. You look at what Green Bay did last year. And the draft picks they used on the offensive line, I think they really restocked the cupboard last year, and I think that was probably, the better year to draft the offensive line. So again, I think I looked at it and said edge, defensive line, the tight end room, the wide receiver room, and then pick up that 3rd running back. And Green Bay did exactly that. So I don't think they missed anything. And again, on paper, this looks like a pretty good draft for Brian Gutekunst.
Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. Goody, after the draft, had said that they'll have to decide by today on Jordan Love's 5th-year contract. When asked why the decision hasn't been made yet, he acknowledged it's a lot of money for a guy we haven't really essentially seen play at all at this point. I still feel like they're going to pick up that 5th-year option. Are you a little surprised that they're going down to the wire on this decision?
I was listening to you early, Captain, and I think maybe there's been conversations, and you threw this out as as a third option. Could Green Bay be negotiating with David Dunn and with Jordan Love to maybe sign him to a 2 or 3 year extension? And so I think that's the delay. I think it speaks volumes. Either way, if Green Bay doesn't pick up that option, I think it speaks volumes. If Green Bay does, I think it speaks volumes. And look, with all the drama that we've gone through this offseason with Aaron Rodgers and going back and forth and the darkness retreat and everything, and the fact that Green Bay is committing to Jordan Love, I would be shocked if Green Bay didn't give him that 5th year, or B, give him the extension of some type. And so my guess is that they've had conversations with David Dunn about maybe we get him for a 2 or 3 year extension rather than just the 1 year guarantee. Whether or not Dunn bites on that, I don't know. But the bottom line is, I think Jordan Love gets some type of commitment from the Green Bay Packers, either in that 5th year guarantee or in some type of extension. I just don't see everything that the Green Bay organization has gone through to make this transition from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, to have him basically as a lame duck last year of his contract, prove it kind of thing. I see Green Bay committing to him some way or another today.
There's 8 first-round draft picks now on this defense, plus Devondre Campbell, who's a former All-Pro just a couple years ago, plus Preston Smith, plus Rasul Douglas. This has got to be put up or shut up time for Joe Barry this year. I mean, you can't say that Goody hasn't been putting in resources to this defense. I mean, all the pressure on the world's got to be on Joe Barry for this year, isn't it?
It's Joe Barry and Matt LaFleur. I mean, that is the ultimate pressure. And you look, Matt LaFleur has made the decision to ride with Joe Barry. And really, that Joe Barry decision could cost Matt LaFleur his job. And it's interesting, Captain, because Mike McCarthy, Mike Holmgren both won Super Bowls in their 5th season with the Green Bay Packers, setting the standard very high. Matt LaFleur going into his 5th season with the Green Bay Packers. And again, I don't see a Super Bowl on the horizon, but this Joe Barry decision with Matt LaFleur sticking with him. And again, there's something to be said for loyalty. I get all of that. But I think based on that Joe Barry's on the hot seat, Matt LaFleur's on the hot seat, and obviously Jordan Love, a lot of expectations there. And so, yeah, I think from a coaching standpoint, I think both Joe Barry and Matt LaFleur's jobs are on the line with how this defense performs this year and the assets that Gutekunst has put into this team on that side of the ball. There's no question the expectation should be through the roof. But yeah, I look at both Matt LaFleur and Joe Barry at this point in time, basically linked together at the hip on this. If the defense fails and this team is 5 wins, 6 wins, and you're seeing just a horrible defense, I think Joe Barry's gone, and I think Matt LaFleur is on a tremendously hot seat at that point.
Do you think Lucas Van Ness is a guy? I know there's some people who didn't like to pick because they didn't view him, or like they don't know how he fits within his defense. Is he a guy that can be, more like an edge rusher, stand up 3-4 edge rusher? Do you think he's more suited to put his hand in the dirt and go after the quarterback? How do you view his role in this type of defense for Lucas Van Ness?
If I'm Joe Barry, I rewind tape to Zadarius Smith in his first year in Green Bay, because you moved him all over the place as far as where he was lining up and where he was coming after the quarterback. I think Lucas Van Ness has that same type of ability to okay, I'm going to go 3 technique. I'm going to go 1 technique. I'm going to go off the edge. And so I just think this guy's so explosive. When you look at his relative athletic score, and again, that's a relatively new thing that a lot of scouts are looking at. It was a 9.39. And so you can really do a lot of different things with him. And again, going back to the Rashawn Gary situation, you really didn't know if Rashawn Gary could make that transition from his hand in the dirt or going into a 2-point. And so, I think Lucas Van Ness is a lot like Rashawn Gary. I think you can use him again like Zadarius Smith. So I see just a guy that has a tremendously high ceiling, and a guy that I think is going to be a big part of this rotation. And when you look at again, and we talk about the nuances of where this Packer team is, and you say, okay, Preston Smith, 31 years old, Rashawn Gary, and I heard you talking earlier, we're all just waiting on that extension, but he's not even going to be available probably till around October. And so I thought that Lucas Van Ness pick was a necessity, and I thought it was a good pick. I thought Van Ness, truthfully, was going to be going a little bit higher. I thought he might go 10, 11, right around there. And so when he was still there and Green Bay drafted him, I wasn't shocked at all, wasn't disappointed. I thought it was a good pick, good value pick at that point in the draft.
Going back to the defensive lineman quick, too, because I loved Kobe and Carl, those picks there. But I thought the interesting part in this thing here, too, is if you look at, some of their combine stuff, they were compared to other linebackers at the combine. In fact, if you look up, Carl Brooks and Kobe on their draft profiles, they got linebacker listed next to them. Now the Packers said, they're going to play defensive line, but maybe for the glass half empty people out there saying, well, they need to improve their run defense and they got smaller defensive linemen. How is that going to help this defense? What would you say to those people?
Yeah, no, I think Colby Wooden and both Carl Brooks, I think they're definitely going to be on the defensive line. And look, Green Bay loves flexibility on their lines. They love guys who can play. When you look at the offensive side of the ball, they love guys that can play multiple positions. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, you look at guys that you can move around. And I see both Wooden and Brooks being guys that you can move around there. And again, not that Dean Lowry was anything special, but he certainly, showed up every day and was reliable at that point. So the depth on this defensive line really has taken a hit. No Jaron Reed, no Dean Lowry. And so you had to throw some bodies out there. And I think, look, in the fourth round and in the sixth round, to get those guys, I thought those were tremendous value picks. And I look at these are the types of guys that are going to be part of the rotation that you can move around. And I love the flexibility that you've got, that you look at Wooden and he was listed 6'4", 273. You look at Carl Brooks, he was listed 6'3", 296. A couple of different guys. I mean, I look at Colby Wooden and I see right away, he's a little taller, but I see a Mike Daniels type of guy there that you can really move around that line. And then when I look at Carl Brooks, again, he kind of reminds me a little bit bigger of a Mike Neal from back in the day. So I just think that those were two great picks, and I think they're going to fit well with this defense and in that rotation.
Besides, last question here for you, besides the fifth-year option, is there another top remaining question mark for this team to address in the offseason, or what's the next thing you're going to be paying attention to?
It's going to be the evolution of the offense. And I think this was a Matt LaFleur draft. And I've asked myself, over the last couple of years, were Goody and LaFleur on the same page with the draft? And I think a lot of and I'm just talking the offensive side of the ball to this point, but, you would see the offense and it really wasn't the Matt LaFleur offense. And I think with 12 personnel, with Reed as that slot guy who can go in motion and play that jet sweep game, and now you've got Dillon and Jones. I want to see the evolution of this offense now to a true Matt LaFleur offense, because when you look at what Shanahan does in San Francisco, and it just seemed to me no matter what quarterback stepped into that offense that he was able to be successful. That's what this offense is all about. So my biggest thing I want to see is the evolution of this offense. And I don't want to throw stones at Rodgers with this, but I don't think we ever really saw the true Matt LaFleur offense, because it was kind of a hybrid of the offense, the West Coast offense principles that Aaron grew up in, and then bringing in some of the LaFleur offense. And you and I have said this since LaFleur took over. The West Coast offense relies on players. The Shanahan offense, whatever you want to call it, relies on the plays. And I want to see this offense to its true potential, where it's truly RPO based, a lot of motion, a lot of shift, a lot of moving around to create question marks on that defensive side of the ball. And that's the biggest thing I want to see. Now, again, the second thing we've already talked about is Joe Barry. What is he going to do with this defense to make a difference this year, to bring that defense into the upper echelon? So I really think it's the evolution of your offensive coordinator, for all practical purposes, that's LaFleur, and your defensive coordinator, Barry.
Interesting stuff. Joe, appreciate the time as always. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you again next week, sir.
All right, Captain. One last thing. I think it's a great question. I would take Brooke Lopez over Middleton any day of the week because I think Middleton's knees are done.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I think I kind of agree with you, man. I think I kind of agree with you. I'm still battling with it, but I look at the health right now, and that's my main factor in this whole thing. So
totally with you, brother. Totally with you. And by the way, I know it's grilling season soon, so I got to get me some Captain Brats and everything else you got going on out there because I love this time of year, man.
Absolutely, man. We'll have to take you to Mike Star Market next time you're in town, okay?
All right. Sounds good, Dan.
All right. Talk to you later. There you go. There's Joe DeGuano joining us here this morning. Hey, we didn't do a pop quiz question, so I'm going to do that right now. Your Tuesday pop quiz. You got a few minutes to think about it here after I give it to you. But besides Jordan Love, give me the last three besides Jordan Love. So the three before. First round offensive players that the Packers selected. Got to be first round offensive players. The last three besides Jordan Love. So the three before Jordan Love. Who were they? We've been talking about, this defense, not only under Goody, but even under Ted Thompson. They've invested a lot of first-round picks into this defense. So, besides Jordan Love, give me the three prior offensive players that were drafted in the first round, not second round, not first picks, first-round picks that were offensive players before Jordan Love, selected by the Packers. You got a couple minutes. Think about it. Text me your answers, 715-830-1912 for our Tuesday pop quiz trivia question. All right, we'll take a break and then finish up the second hour in just a couple minutes.
Got a take on today's topics but can't call in? Then hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, or the text line and let your fingers do the talking.
What's for dinner tonight? Craving a good brat? Maybe some chicken? Or how about the freshest and the finest beef in the Chippewa Valley? Making you hungry now, aren't we? Well, feed those cravings by heading over to Mike Star Market in Eau Claire. Whether you are in the mood for steak, a burger, or pork, Mike Star Market in Eau Claire is the only hometown meat market. Plus, they offer custom venison and other wild game processing. So what are you waiting for? Visit Mike Star Market at 2238 Heimstead Road and grab dinner for tonight and tomorrow while you're at it.
The Venture X card from Capital One gives you premium travel benefits, perfect for seeing Taylor Swift The Eras Tour. Presented by Capital One. Ooh, I do love her. Earn 5 times miles on flights and 10 times miles on hotels through Capital One Travel.
Enjoy your stay in Suite 13.
Whoa, 13? That's Taylor's lucky number. The Venture X card from Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Hi, my name is David, and I'm one of the owners of a successful family-owned business called Northland Buildings. Growing up on a dairy farm in northern Wisconsin, I learned from my dad the values of putting in a good, honest day's work and not quitting until all the chores were done right. That meant recognizing quality in everything we did on that farm. And that ethic is now the core values at Northland Buildings. I guarantee as the CEO, you won't find a higher quality post-frame building than ours. We do everything we can to use building materials based and manufactured right here in the Midwest. If you built one of our buildings in the past 30 years, you know the quality I'm talking about. And we want to say thank you for trusting your animals and equipment to the protection and housing you get in a Northland building. All the information you need is at northlandbuildings.com. Built tough for the Northland.
Northland Building,
Hey, you, are you looking for a job? Or maybe you already have a job, but you just don't like your boss and you need a new home. But typically, job fairs have been kind of stodgy and kind of not your thing. We've got you covered. Stop out Careers and Beers at the Brewing Project. It's this Thursday from 4 to 6 with all of our friends at the stations of Midwest Family. And get this, we're even going to buy your first beer. All of this in a low-key atmosphere where everyone's relaxed and looking to have a good conversation about your future goals. Careers and Beers this Thursday, May 4th from 4 to 6 at the Brewing Project in downtown Eau Claire.
What's the special today?
Well, I've got half-price geofencing with a side of SEO, double bubble on all PPC, and 50% off all OTT CTV contracts.
Sound familiar when you were looking for marketing options? Are vendors selling you their tactics rather than your solutions? Then let the marketing mixologists at Midwest Family Eau Claire come to the rescue. Midwest Family Eau Claire isn't about hitting their sales quotas. They're about helping you hit yours. Go to MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com today and find out how their integrated marketing solutions make just the right marketing cocktail for you. MidwestFamilyEauClaire.com.
Suffer a sports injury or know someone who has and you don't know who to turn to? Rely on the experience of the sports medicine team at Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. When you experience any sports-related injury or issue, you could count on Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on prompt, proper diagnosis and customized treatment plans to meet your goals. When it comes to getting back on the field of play, get back on there with the best team in the area. Request an appointment with Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine today by visiting cvosm.com.
As a roofer, I don't have time to fail. Homeowners rely on me, so I rely on Beacon. Beacon's unique network of branches work together to get me what I need when I need it. Every branch working together. And with the new Beacon Pro Plus app, I've got the brands I depend on, like GAF, right at my fingertips. Now through June, purchase online with Beacon Pro Plus, web or app, and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building.
Do you remember all those times playing in the backyard and daydreaming of either playing on your favorite sports team or dreaming about all the goals you wanted to accomplish in life? We still do that today, and that's why we created Backyard Dreams. We want to help people accomplish their goals, chase their passions, and achieve their dreams. Whether someone's dream is to attend a ball game, someone needs a new pair of basketball shoes, or a Little League team needs help going to a tournament, we want to help, and we need your help as well to help our community. To learn more about Backyard Dreams, just visit sportstalk1051.com.
College students or parents of college students, I'm talking to you right now, so listen closely. Spring semester is going to be over with, coming up here really quick here. Moving day coming up as well. We can tell when it's moving time because of all that furniture that's on the curb. Some of that furniture might be picked up by other students to help furnish their new place that they're moving into. But I've got a suggestion to do something different this year, something that helps your own community. Instead of putting that couch or desk on the curb and waiting for someone to grab it, donate it to the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, because your donation will stock the Chippewa Valley Habitat for Humanity Restore, where sales then go to help fund home builds for families in need in our area. And hey, to you, that person that was planning on scouring the curbs for that desk to add to your room, stop on over at the Restore and see what they all have in stock. You might even find that couch that would be perfect for your new living room. Students, parents of students, help your community out this year. Donate your furniture to the Restore and do some shopping there this year. Plus, they're not that far from campus. Just visit the Restore at 145 North Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire. Nobody got the trivia question right, pop quiz trivia question right. To your last three besides Jordan Love, the three prior first-round offensive picks by the Packers. You got to go to 2011 with Derek Sherrod and Brian Balaga the year before, and then 2005, some dude named Aaron Charles Rodgers. That's it. That's it. Even beforehand, before Aaron Rodgers, you had Ahmad Carroll, defensive back, Nick Barnett. Then you had Javon Walker. But as of late, not a ton of first-round picks that have been offensive players for the Packers. All right, we got two in. One more to go. We're going to talk a little Chippewa Steel hockey coming up in just a couple minutes.
WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1 and 790 AM. From the 715 Newsroom, it's Morgan McCarthy with your news on Sports Talk 105.1.
We begin with an update from Dunn County and news of a deadly house fire there in the rural town of Tiffany. It was responders who were on scene as the fire broke out yesterday morning in the town of Tiffany. The sheriff's office says 74-year-old man was found dead inside of the home. No word on his identity or what started the fire, as deputies say that investigation is ongoing. Badgers wide receiver Marcus Allen could be facing a weapons charge. Dane County Sheriff's Office says Allen was arrested at the Mifflin Street block party over the weekend. That was confirmed. That was a tentative charge of intoxicated use of a gun, though he's no longer in custody and hasn't been charged yet. Police say 44 people were arrested at this year's block party. Wisconsin's newest elections commissioner is coming from Milwaukee County. Governor Evers yesterday named former Milwaukee County Clerk Joe Sarnicki to the Elections Commission as he is replacing former Sheboygan County Clerk Julie Glancy, who retired from the commission heading into the weekend. And Sarnicki spent a decade in the state legislature in the 80s, elected to Milwaukee County Clerk in 2008 and 2012, and then after that, served on Milwaukee County Board of Supervisors. You may notice those low-flying planes. This month, they'll be spraying for spongy moths in western Wisconsin. If you want to find more information online at DADCAP, you can find a map, maybe know when you'll notice those lower-flying planes. That click's set up for you easy at 715newsroom.com. Well, you can put a woolly mammoth on your vehicle if you're in the market for a new license plate. Scunny's got you covered, as today, the Wisconsin Department of Transportation unveiled the Ice Age Trail license plate. It's baby blue, has a yellow stripe on the bottom, and then that woolly mammoth on the side. You can find more information online, a direct link, and then that visual of what the new license plates look like, all when you pull over first at 715newsroom.com. And when it comes to the scrubs, they've had enough. Nearly 1/3 of all nurses in the U.S. considering hanging it up.
That's according to a new survey of more than 18,000 nurses by AMN Healthcare Services Incorporated. It revealed 30% of them are looking to leave the profession after the pandemic left them overwhelmed and burnt out. The survey also found that 69% of nurses want higher salaries and 63% want safer, less stressful work environments. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And we had the Rodgers trade, had the draft. Casper's been pulling some late nights. I said, Bud, talk to me. How you feeling?
Overwhelmed and burnt out.
For Sports Talk 105.1. I'm Morgan McCarthy.
Intervals of clouds and sun will be in store for today and slightly warmer than yesterday, with temperatures climbing to the upper 50s and low 60s to the west, but areas to the east will be on the cooler side as they'll likely see more in the way of cloud cover. Those highs climbing to the upper 40s and low 50s. Otherwise, clearing out tonight, dipping to around the freezing point, setting up a milder day tomorrow. Intervals of clouds and sun once again, and highs in the low 60s. I'm Skywarn 13 meteorologist Mike D'Andrea.
What's on tap? Brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Rooting for the Brew Crew because we're from Milwaukee too. It's Miller time. The force is strong with the Brewers for Star Wars Night at the Ballpark on Saturday, May 13th. Presented by 620 WTMJ. All Jedi Masters who purchase a theme night ticket package get a game ticket plus a special Luke Skywalker bobblehead. Get seats at Brewers.com. Milwaukee Brewers baseball and Miller Lite.
Want to stop engine problems before they start? Pick up a can of Seafoam motor treatment. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Just pour it in your fuel tank. Seafoam is available where automotive products are sold.
Let me ask you something. Did you name your firstborn after a football player?
Hell yes.
Did you spend your honeymoon going to a football game?
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Do you spend most of your free time hanging out in your man cave?
Yes!
If you answered yes to all the above, then you, my friend, are a serious sports fan just like Dan.
Yes!
This is exactly where you belong. Sports talking and BSing is what we do best.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
So rise and grind, people, because the Dan Kasper Show is on the air.
You serious, Clark?
Right now.
Showtime! Woo!
All right, final hour on this Tuesday morning. Happy May 2nd, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in, however, and wherever you may be checking in from. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we'll catch up with RJ Cardinal, get his thoughts on where some of the Badger players were selected in this draft. Which fits does he like the most? Is it Tippmann maybe with the Jets? The Steelers grabbing a couple former Badgers with Keanu Benton and Nick Herbig over there too. So we'll catch up on all things Badgers with RJ coming up in about 20 minutes or so. We kick off this hour though, and this will be the final time here for at least a couple months. Coach Casey from the Chip with Steel falling just a bit short in their game Friday, and then the postseason against the Wendigo. But Coach, still congratulations on a successful season.
Yeah, thank you. Still a little fresh and stings a little bit. We did all of our exit meetings yesterday, and guys are, either out of town or on their way out of town this week. And yeah, it's a tough way to end it, but I think overall, if you look back in a few weeks or so, you can be pretty pleased with overall how things went.
Absolutely. Looking back at this season, I think the easy answer would be, not to ask you like what stands out to you most. It'd probably be, making the postseason and such. But was there a moment, or were there a couple moments this past season where that are really just going to kind of stick out to you when you do take a little bit more time and look back at that, or is that still kind of too fresh to maybe think about it at this point?
I think just clinching the playoffs up in Fairbanks, like that moment we had as a group was pretty special. Obviously the playoff game was really special in our rink. I mean, the crowd was fantastic, and disappointing we weren't able to give them more than one. But yeah, it's a seasons of what ifs. I think even even the series that we don't win a game, and after watching all the games back, looking at all of them, like I feel like we could have easily won all three. We had the puck for 10 more minutes than they did 5-on-5 Friday night. I mean, that's a number that's usually 30 seconds or a minute difference in a tight game. I mean, 10 minutes, I mean, it's just, we just could not find a way to get a fluky or a greasy or a bounce of any sort. And power play didn't do anything for us. Kill was great, but yeah, just, I don't know. It's a weird feeling because, like I said, I feel like we played all right. We played a lot of good hockey this year in games that we didn't win. So, got to go back to the drawing board a little bit. But yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, it's there's a lot of positives.
So, not to look too far ahead right now, but I mean, I saw you already tendering some players. I mean, a lot of these guys, are they coming back? I mean, Sam Rice just committed to Minnesota State, which is awesome. I know you've talked about that, finding that spot for him here too. But, is it going to look like a newer team next year? Do you have any guys returning, or is it still kind of too early to figure that out?
It's hard to say. I mean, at this point, I think we expect a handful of guys to be back. The USHL draft is the phase 1 is today, phase 2 is tomorrow. So after tomorrow, we'll have a little bit of a better idea of where some of our guys that do get picked, where they're potentially going. We had a lot of good conversations with guys about wanting to be back, but that's before they've been potentially selected. So yeah, we'll see. I mean, we've already tendered I don't even know, 9 or 10 players at this point. So we think we have a good core. It just depends on how good it is. And that we won't know until the beginning of next season.
Right. How hard is that though too, as a coach, but also GM? I mean, you almost have to instantly kind of turn your hat around and be the GM as soon as that season ends. I mean, have you had really enough time to kind of get the season and break it down here a little bit?
Yeah,
I mean, you're kind of
I
running
think, like I
ground right
said,
away.
like tomorrow is like an important day for us as an organization, and just seeing where the guys who get picked, where they get picked, by what teams, what kind of plans they have for those kids. Is it a next year thing, or is it they want them to play one more year and then come in? So, excuse me. After tomorrow, we can kind of, like I said, the picture will be a little bit clearer,
Right.
and then we can regroup as a staff and kind of figure out what our needs are, and then move accordingly. With, I think we have 2 tenders left, and a couple till the middle of June essentially to use those. So we will, like I said, today and tomorrow are a little bit of just debrief, and
Right.
and then we'll go from there.
So from the player side of things, or you mentioned some are leaving town or getting ready to leave town. Are they going straight home, or do some of them, are they going to another league or playing? I mean, is it just a nonstop grind for them? Are they hitching their wagons somewhere else for a little bit? What's the plan for
Most
some?
of them are well, we'll be heading home at some point. There's only 4 teams left playing in the USHL in the conference finals, so I mean, not many of our guys are owned by those teams. I think if Green Bay might have been playing still, I think you might have seen Adam join them. But yeah, that's none of our guys are heading to other teams at this moment.
So like the players who committed, so like Sam Rice, who just committed to Minnesota State, do they still have the potential to play for you guys? Like, how does that process work? Or are they going? I mean, are they playing right college?
Yeah, so
after
Sam
this?
is committed for not next year,
Okay.
the following season. So he has 1 more year left. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens with him. Obviously, he had an unbelievable year, but he is a 20-year-old, and the USHL does have restrictions on age out players. So we spoke yesterday. I think, again, he's one. We'll see where he goes, and we talked a lot about fit and opportunity and role, and relationship with our staff, and how much success he had this year, what that led to, obviously, with his commitment. I mean, is it necessary to go somewhere else? I mean, I don't think it is, but we all know these kids are hungry and eager and want to play at the highest level. So again, tomorrow will be a pretty good indicator for us on some of these guys, especially him.
So I mean, you're just finishing up your second year here, and it's been quite the eventful 2 seasons as head coach. Your first year, you come in like right before the season begins, and then you actually have a full off season with the team. And then you go to the postseason here. You've taken these steps now that you've gotten a taste of the postseason. I mean, how hungry are you? To not only get back, but now make a run at that thing. I mean, just getting that little bit of a taste, I got to imagine, is just fueling that fire within you at this point.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I said, based on conversations with the guys that will be back next year, I think that's the common theme as well. It's nice to get a little bit of experience. It's a long season, and we've got guys that played in their, this might have been their second year of junior hockey, and maybe it didn't go as well as the first year, or they didn't take the step that they did, that they thought they would. And we got guys that this was their first year and had slow starts and good. So I think there's just so much to learn. I think that it's we learned a lot about kind of some things that we did that maybe didn't work, that we want to obviously look at to reassess and not make those same mistakes. But yeah, I mean, I think it's great for us to get a little taste of that playoff scene and what it takes, and what the intensity, the next level of intensity that it goes to. And yeah, it's exciting just to have that experience, and now
Mhm.
move forward looking to build on this year after building on year one.
You personally, is there anything that you're kind of already thinking about doing in the off season in terms of preparing for year 3? I mean, is there something that that maybe you want to learn more about or kind of look into, or we know you're a big reader, reading
Yeah.
other coaches and other philosophies and that sort of thing, but is there something from maybe this past season that you kind of want to look into this off season, or have you gotten down that road yet at
Yeah,
this point?
not yet. I think would I'm hoping to be able to do some of these camps in the summer and be able
Mhm.
to meet with just be around other high end coaches and just be able to pick their brain on any aspect of the game and just continue to just have knowledge. There's so many different ways to do things and ideas and tactics. So yeah, I mean, I think for us, obviously, I think um, we weren't able to score as much as we did, and in the regular season, in the postseason, and I think in zone offense and being able to generate different ways is an important way. You got to be able to score goals in multiple facets. So I think that'll be something that we look at and just look at kind of the certain things that we did as a team and see if there are any trends that we can build on or
Mhm.
eliminate that will let us have a little bit more success.
I know there's like variations of this saying that's kind of out there, but it's, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's it's not the prize at the end, it's the journey to get there, sort of thing. Is that something, like, I feel like that's something, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but I feel like that's something that you're going to kind of look at this past season. I mean, I don't know how many times we were in here like talk, this division, we're getting close, we're getting close. You
Yeah.
go on that run. I mean, that journey to get to that point. Is that something too that you'll kind of look back at this year? It was, we fell short in the postseason, but it was the journey that we got to that point that really
Yeah.
stands out to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it's a part of it. I mean, I think you gotta enjoy the ride a little bit, and it's the greatest teams and players and coaches. I mean, they're winning a couple champion,
Mhm.
like, so I think there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of positives to pull from it. It's not the way that we wanted it to go or end. But you have to take some good out of everything that happens, especially when you know you do a lot of firsts and set some records within your organization, and those are all really positive things. But to me, I just want to be, you want to be the last team standing, and
Mhm.
I just think that's the ultimate drive for me and for us, is to be there at some point. And
Mhm.
yeah, like I said, I mean, I think you can pull positives from this season, and it's a great group of guys, and guys that we had for 2 years in a row that did a lot of work and build a good foundation for us to continue to build upon. I think you know I'd say every player, but 95% of the kids we met with yesterday said that this was the closest team that they've ever been on. To me, I think that I take a lot of pride in that. I think
Mhm.
that goes, with how we do things and welcome people into our group. And, those guys that joined us at the end of the high school season for 6 weeks felt like they were here for the whole season. I think
Mhm.
those are cool things, that we can continue to build on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's not a failure by any means,
Right.
but I think we're always striving for more.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Well said. And you mentioned that 95% were the closest one. I mean, you're kind of almost like a parent too at that point too, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah.
you're the coach, you're the general manager, but you're around these guys, these kids, probably more than anybody else, the whole team together. that's got to be cool to know that that was, a big common theme from your exit interviews, is that these players develop these connections, that they were really close with each other, these friendships that'll probably last a lifetime, I have to imagine now.
For sure. And like I think it's a good thing. I mean, it's obviously it's a great thing. I mean, you want every team that wins every championship in every sport. I mean, what do they say? I mean, they always say that this is the closest group that I've ever, so to me, it's like, it's a little frustrating that we could be so close and we're done. Like, to me, those things don't correlate, because if you're saying that this is the closest team and you love everybody on your team, you should, not that you're going to win all the time, but I felt like that was a little disconnected with how we potentially played a little bit, and that to me is something I want to get to the bottom of with some of the guys that have left, and find out, okay, so if we were so close, then why did it not go as well as it probably should have or could have? Is it something else that was wrong? So
right.
Because to me, I mean, if that's the sentiment from the group, like, it should be, a family, and there should be maybe more accountability in certain standards between the players, right? Like, I mean, we can only do so much as coaches. We're only in the locker room, a portion of the time that they're together, right? So if things aren't going the way that they want them to go, if they're really close, I think they should be policing that a little bit more. So that it's just, to me, it's just an interesting, sentiment of, I think a team that's every player on it says this is the closest team that they've ever been on should still be playing. That's
Right.
that's my thought. I mean, because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that family kind of connection, right? And guys are willing to do everything for their teammates. I mean, that's when you have a special team, and so, yeah, I mean, that was kind of an interesting takeaway from
Right.
our meetings yesterday.
Do you have any prediction on who you think's gonna win the whole thing at this point? Wisconsin win to go? I mean,
Yeah,
do you even care at this point right now? Probably not. So.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, you kind of want to see your division do well, but you just, like, for me, like, feeling like we could have won, like,
Right.
I don't know if that's going to make it worse.
I totally know what you mean by
I
that.
think
Yep.
I think that the Oklahoma City Warriors and the Austin Bruins are probably the two favorites, in my opinion, at this point, to maybe face off in the finals, but there's a lot of hockey left to be played. So that would be my prediction at this point. If even possible. Obviously, when they get to the Robertson Cup, they reseed. I do think that they were probably, there's a chance that those two guys, because I think would be able to meet in the final. But that would be my guess right now.
So to kind of wrap it up here, Coach, because we won't see you here for a little bit yet, but if there was one message or one thing you could say to either the Steel fans or the Billet families, or to anybody else, as we begin this offseason, what would that message be? Or maybe to the players too?
Yeah, I mean, any chance we get to thank the Billets is one that we'd like to take advantage of. I mean, I say it all the time. I don't have a job. We don't do this. These 7 kids don't get Division I scholarships this year without the Billets. I mean, they're just what
7 Division I scholarships. That's amazing. That's really awesome.
I think that's the number with Sam Rice. Yeah, just getting one. So, I mean, it's just what they do for these kids to be able to allow them to, play and chase their dream and open up their home. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I think, more, you ask them, obviously some of them have tougher experience, maybe multiple guys coming in and out of their house during a certain year. But I know we've had a couple families that had, the same 2 players for the last 2 seasons, right? I mean, it's a lot of time with some kids, and very emotional, goodbyes, after the game Friday and over the weekend. And yeah, it's just it's remarkable what they do. And I think the relationships that they build out of that is I mean, it's uncommon. It's something that is hard to replicate. And I think we're just grateful for them and the fans. I mean, I hope they enjoyed the season and the product that was put on the ice and just looking for that continued support. I mean, it's nothing better than playing in front of a full building. So
Right.
We appreciate all the support.
Seeing that line outside the arena too, getting in there is pretty darn cool too.
Yeah,
So
it was a great final stretch for our team.
Absolutely. So camps and kind of scouting and all that is now on your table.
Yeah, we've got.
for
I mean,
this?
obviously, until the Robertson Cup is kind of some downtime now. Obviously, we were hoping to still be playing, but yeah, the camps get started at the end of May, first 2 weeks of June, and then the draft, and then there's a little bit of a break. So,
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time you've always given us every week throughout the season, and well, you enjoy some off time, and until you get back on the grind here, and can't wait for the next season. To
thanks
pop up
thanks
here.
for having me. It's
You
been
got
fun.
it. Absolutely. All right, we're gonna take a quick break here, and then we'll chat with RJ Cardinal coming up in just a few minutes.
The Dan Kasper Show will be right back.
Hunters, are you looking for a brand new firearm to take with you to the woods? Or maybe you want to save a little money and are looking at getting a high quality used firearm? Whatever the case may be, if you're looking for a rifle for, say, deer hunting or shotgun for your turkey hunting adventures, look no further than Tilden Gun. Tilden Gun features a wide selection of new and used firearms. And if you're looking for a particular firearm, Tilden Gun will help you find that firearm for you. And plus, they have a wall of handguns for you to check out as well. And you know you're going to need some ammo, targets, cases, scopes, and other accessories too. Well, Tilden Gun has all the accessories you need to properly outfit your firearm to hit the woods. Tilden Gun has the biggest selection, all at the best prices in the Chippewa Valley. So here's what you do. You could visit tildengun.com to see what all Tilden Gun has to offer. And you can stop by Tilden Gun and check out their amazing shop and see what they all have in store. Visit Tilden Gun today at 12427 98th Avenue, Chippewa Falls. Price, quality, customer service. That's the big three I look for when I'm looking to get a big project done. And sometimes it can be hard to find all those three in one place. But when it comes to replacing your flooring, one place hits all three of my marks. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. They hit the pricing mark because they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Quality is pretty easy because they have all the best and top-of-the-line flooring options that you could ask for. They carry the best brands in carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, and more. And customer service. I could talk to you throughout this entire commercial about their customer service. It's easily one of the best, most courteous, helpful, and friendly staffs you could work with. They're with you through every step of the process, from finding the floor that fits your budget and what looks good and works best in your home or office. Taking on big projects can be a little nervous to think about, but when it comes to replacing your flooring, that nervousness goes away with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Just visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and see for yourself.
Get ready to save half with half-off deals. A great way for you to get goods and services that you will love, and you don't have to pay full price. Start saving this Friday, May 5th, with Cabin Coffee. Be ready with your credit or debit card and get ready to save with this week's half-off deals. For more details and to find out about all the savings, just go to aroundthe715.com.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more from brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue in Eau Claire, you can also visit them online at shoedoctorfootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
Hey, you, are you looking for a job? Or maybe you already have a job, but you just don't like your boss and you need a new home. But typically, job fairs have been kind of stodgy and kind of not your thing. We've got you covered. Stop out Careers and Beers at the Brewing Project. It's this Thursday from 4 to 6 with all of our friends at the stations of Midwest Family. And get this, we're even going to buy your first beer. All of this in a low-key atmosphere where everyone's relaxed and looking to have a good conversation about your future goals. Careers and Beers this Thursday, May 4th from 4 to 6 at the Brewing Project in downtown Eau Claire.
The latest sports news, scores, opinion, and commentary. If that's not enough, you should seek professional help. The Dan Kasper Show.
How have you been getting ready for the golf season? Hitting the range, of course, to probably hit a bucket of balls, maybe working on your putting on that putting green you have in the basement, perhaps even doing some chipping in the backyard. But one important aspect of making sure your golf game is up to par, see what we did there, is by making that appointment with Shepke Chiropractic. You want to make sure you get your back and the rest of your body right when you're hitting the courses this year. And a really cool feature with Shepke Chiropractic is that they are also a Titleist Performance Institute certified. So, for example, if you're looking to get chiropractic care, but also maybe want a swing analysis on your golf swing, they offer that. Just visit ShepkeChiropractic.com to learn more. Your journey to a healthier, more fulfilling life starts here and an improvement in your golf game. Make your appointment at Shepke Chiropractic today. Wrapping up the draft talk here a little bit, I want to talk about some of the Badgers that were selected with our main man, Mr. R.J. Cardinal. RJ, it sure seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers like themselves some Badgers. They went and got Benton and Nick Herbig. Do you like those fits for those two guys in the Steel City?
You know, it's hard to argue with the defensive success that the Steelers have had with almost anybody they draft.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there are going to be some good fits there. Keanu Benton will be able to probably be a backup to Hayward there for a portion of time and earn his way onto that defense. And he'll be a body that will be able to take up a couple of defenders to be able to block him. So he'll be able to fit into that system that will then allow that linebacking core that they seem to just keep building up to move a little more freely.
Mm-hmm. And then, you got Nick Herbig going up there and pairing up with TJ Watt. And, Matt Canada, I guess you can kind of say a Wisconsin connection over there, too.
And Isaiah Loudermilk.
That's true. I mean, it's heck, even was it the USFL, the Pittsburgh team there's got a bunch of? Is it USFL or XFL?
The Maulers have like 4 or 5 Badgers, too. So.
Yeah.
And then I guess I didn't realize I wasn't really paying attention up until recently. Nate Herbig, Nick's brother, is on the Steelers as well. So you got a set of Watts and a set of Herbigs.
Look at that. I mean, they really love their well, yeah, you got a set of, you're right. The other Watts over there too. So
Derek.
So Herbig, do you like the I'm assuming he's going to be kind of a role player, maybe coming off the bench, but backing up a guy like TJ Watt or something like that over there too. But you got to like that fit. How about Tippmann maybe potentially snapping some balls to Aaron Rodgers over there with the Jets?
Yeah, and what we were talking about on last Tuesday, how we thought he'd probably be the first one to go, and immediately would get hit with a bad grade because somebody reached on a Wisconsin offensive lineman. Not even the first center really graded out, or the first guard, but technically, was he the first center taken?
I think so.
Yeah, and you know what? Everywhere I've looked, it's been a C+ grade or worse. But once again, name a Wisconsin O-lineman who has failed at being reached for. It's one that I don't think is really anybody who needs to be worried. He's a guy who I think one way or another will either be a starting center or a starting guard this year with the Jets. So all these people who are like he's a guy who's going to need time to develop, I don't think have actually watched video on him. And it's a little bit where I think people tend to look at it and say, well, he's Wisconsin, so he doesn't know how to pass block. But then in the same breath, we'll say he's quick, athletic, and a great combo blocker. And I'm like, well, at what point do you then tell me he doesn't know how to pass block? If you're a combo blocker, it usually means you're good at both, as well as being able to pick up and help people. It's kind of oxymoronic to say that and then say he can't pass block and that he needs time to develop. But I really think he'll be pushing for playing time right away.
Kind of looking, staying with the Badger football program here a little bit. We got one Badger who is entering the transfer portal, and that's one of their backup quarterbacks. Was it I was going to say Marcus Allen. We're going to get to Marcus Allen here in a second. Marshall, was it Marshall?
Marshall Howe. Yep.
Yeah, Marshall Howe.
Was a walk-on. Depending on where you look, he is either received a scholarship or is still a walk-on. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about the depth at the quarterback position and how he was taking third-team reps over some more highly recruited quarterbacks in Burkett and Evers. So I mean, he was your third quarterback in the spring, and maybe that kind of publicity maybe made him make the choice. And I mean, you had compliments from Longo and that offensive staff being like, he's meticulous at learning this offense, and that's why he's where he's at. He's picking up on things really quick, and he's able to be the guy we want in there as of right now. And the other guys are still learning this. So who knows where he lands? I could see him being probably a good fit for like a starter at a MAC school, and that's not trying to say that's where he belongs. I think right off the bat he could go to a MAC school and just be named the starter. Like his football IQ is good enough, and when you watch his high school film, I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm and is able to exploit downfield really easily. So nothing but best wishes for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him starting for a group of 5 school come fall.
And it seems like, I mean, he had a really good spring, and maybe that his stock kind of rose from that, as you were kind of alluding to there a little bit. So it with his transfer portal, it almost seems like, stock's up. Maybe take advantage of that and like you said, get his starting job in a MAC conference or something.
Yeah, and I mean, even in now, I mean, that could end up parlaying, if you do a good job, into a starting job in a Power 5 school. I mean, granted, I think now he would have to wait then for a graduate transfer to be able to play right away, because I still think you're allowed one. No, it's weird. Yeah, I think you're allowed one without any repercussion, but then if you still do it within the same time frame, you have to sit for some portion. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I've read that in multiple places before. So, it'll be interesting to see that. And now that the portal is closed, I don't know. Maybe we'll find or hear some more trickling out about guys who have left the program. But right now, it seems that with this portal now closed, we're at somewhere where we can sit low for a while. But I still think they're over their scholarship limit for next year, so something might need to change there.
Gotcha. RJ Cardinal, our Badger analyst, joining us here this morning. And obviously one story that the football team doesn't, want to be kind of out there or wish to would have happened was the Marcus Allen arrest from the Mifflin block party this past weekend. Have you heard anything more about what's going on with that situation, or what's kind of the word down there in Madison surrounding this?
Well, the report first came from Channel 27 News, I believe. He was arrested for possession of a firearm while intoxicated, and possibly with a stolen gun in his backpack. Not sure why you would need a gun at Mifflin, but it's not a good look for a guy who wasn't really even getting reps in the spring. So it'll be interesting to see how this coaching staff handles the situation. Right now, the only comments the university has made is we're letting the legal process play out. You don't want to have another situation much like Quintez Cephas, where it was kind of thrown out of court, and his whole situation was not really what happened. But it'll be interesting to see what happens here moving forward. One way or another, I'm guessing we don't see Marcus Allen on this roster come fall. But it's kind of puzzling, but still let the process play out, see what actually kind of happened there. But not a good look from every angle we're looking at it right now, at least.
So, RJ, you've been with the program before. Now that spring ball is over with, can you kind of give us a little bit of a background of what's kind of going on now? We got graduation coming up, obviously, but with up until September and right before camp begins, what's kind of a normal, or at least what it was when you were with the program? What usually goes on from now until the season really starts to begin for these players? Are they staying around campus? Are they kind of going home? What's kind of the plan usually?
So you now have a few weeks here before and then after graduation, where it's basically your time. You have no real requirements with the team. Your lifting program is done for the time being. Spring practice is done. Then usually you have like your quote unquote captain's practices, where it's pretty much just 7-on-7s run by the players, still supervised by the weight staff, and I mean those are all voluntary. But the weight staff does keep tabs on who's there and relays the messages to the coaching staff. So it's it's still one of those like the hey, these are all voluntary, but if you actually want to have a shot at playing, you better show up. So that'll take place. Then summer conditioning will happen. I think that starts a few weeks after. And now all these clocks have now changed since I've been there. I mean, the recruiting windows are now pretty much year round. I forget what it was, but recruiting windows have been opened past everything. So where pretty much mid-June to mid-July, coaching staffs had off. Those windows have now been opened up, so recruiting has become a year-round thing. So I don't know if that has also opened up windows when summer lifting programs can start and all that. But usually it was like 2 to 3 weeks after graduation. Those who are already on campus, they'll stick around and lift on their own. But then, your summer conditioning will start. That's when incoming freshmen will also be able to be coming onto campus, at least scholarship freshmen, to be able to participate in the summer lifting and conditioning. Then, depending on when your first game is, August rolls around and here comes fall camp. So It's what, May, June, July. You got 3 months here that are really downtime, but there's no downtime at all outside of maybe 3 weeks.
Interesting. So, and I know we got some spring stuff kind of wrapping up. Tennis team, was it the women's tennis team going to getting NCAA berth for the first time in a few years? I got to give a shout out to the golf team, RJ, because they had their highest team finish in the Big Ten championship, third in 27 seasons. 27 seasons. Got to give a shout out to the golf team down there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I mean, Wisconsin never really been a golf destination. I mean, there's more guys staying in state here, but like even back in the day, like Andy North ended up being a Florida Gator because nobody stuck around to play golf in Wisconsin. I mean, heck, even Steve Stricker.
I was going to say Steve Stricker didn't even play, did he?
No, he was he Illinois?
I think he was
Went to
Illinois.
Illinois.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it's fun. I mean, Steve Stricker ended up marrying the golf coach's daughter, so that's that's a little weird. But yeah, it's nice to see the program kind of getting back to where it was in the early '90s when they did have a good stable of golfers, and yeah, it's awesome to always see the programs do well, but it seems more lately that the athletic department is actually making strides to have more than just your big money makers be the money makers, and not just be the only ones with success outside of the cross country teams, swim teams, and the money making sports. So it's good to see.
Yeah, and you mentioned like Andy North and Steve Stricker. I don't know how many people realize like those two guys, because Andy North's like at every basketball game for crying out loud. Steve Stricker is like, when you think of Wisconsin golf, I think that's the first name people think about. I think people just assume that they played for Wisconsin, but no, that's not the case. They didn't even go to school there. So
more people are lenient with Andy North because, I mean, back when he went and was in school here, you did not go to a northern school to play golf.
Yeah.
So people are okay with that. But yeah, I mean, Steve Stricker, not as big as the, hey, I'm going to be on TV, being proud of Wisconsin and all that. But yet, he still is a proud Wisconsinite. And, he's one who has helped out the university as well. So yeah, it's good to see that even though they aren't alumni here, they sure act like they do and help out not only the golf community here, but also the golf community being able to be built at the university.
Absolutely. RJ, always great to chat with you, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your week, sir, and we'll catch up again next week. Okay, bud?
Sounds good. We will talk to you then.
You got it. RJ Cardinal joining us here this morning. We got to take a quick break, but we actually have a little Packers news to pass along. We're going to make that a little tease. So that's coming up just after this quick break.
You're listening to The Dan Kasper Show.
The Shoe Doctor is known for quality footwear. Remember, the Shoe Doctor can keep your feet comfortable during all the different outdoor weather and activities here in the Chippewa Valley. Work boots, casual shoes, sandals, and more. From brands you trust like Keen, Merrill, Chaco, and Dansko, and that's just to name a few. Located on Claremont Avenue, you can also visit them at ShoeDoctorFootwear.com. The Shoe Doctor, quality footwear for work, sport, and fun.
What's something you can't get for $18.99? Enough soil for your new garden. What's something you can get for $18.99? A month of unlimited car washes at Clean and Classy. Something you can't do in 5 minutes? Plant your new garden. Something you can do in 5 minutes? Get rid of springtime grime at Clean and Classy on West Claremont and off Hastings on Brackett Avenue. Wash your car more than once a month? A monthly pass is going to save you money. Make your car clean and classy.
If you own a small business, you know the value of time. GetRefunds.com does too.
And that's why they made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employment Retention Credit, or it's known as ERC. Go to getrefunds.com, get started in less than 8 minutes, and see if your business qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID. GetRefunds.com has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they might be able to help you as well. Keep in mind, no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based off incomplete or outdated information. So don't let the opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund program is only available for a limited amount of time. Go to getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
Price, quality, customer service. That's the big three I look for when I'm looking to get a big project done. And sometimes it can be hard to find all those three in one place. But when it comes to replacing your flooring, one place hits all three of my marks. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. They hit the pricing mark because they will match or beat the competition if you happen to find a better deal elsewhere. Quality is pretty easy because they have all the best and top-of-the-line flooring options that you could ask for. They carry the best brands of carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, and more. And customer service. I could talk to you throughout this entire commercial about their customer service. It's easily one of the best, most courteous, helpful, and friendly staff you can work with. They're with you through every step of the process, from finding the floor that fits your budget and what looks good and works best in your home or office. Taking on big projects can be a little nervous to think about, but when it comes to replacing your flooring, that nervousness goes away with the help from Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. Just visit them today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire and see for yourself.
Want to stop engine problems before they start? Pick up a can of Seafoam motor treatment. Seafoam helps engines start easier, run smoother, and last longer. Just pour it in your fuel tank. Seafoam is available where automotive products are sold.
When they're investigating, we can't stop watching. This month on BritBox, sit back, relax, and enjoy watching the detectives. Discover Britain's most bingeable mysteries, including the brand new season of Grace, the hit series based on the books by best-selling author Peter James. Unwind with the detectives you could watch all night long. Stream them all now exclusively on BritBox. Endlessly intriguing. Start your free trial at BritBox.com.
I'd like to get real with you for a moment. All across the country and even in our town, there are people who have to go without. Perhaps even you, having to go without being able to hear parts of the Dan Kasper Show. It's tragic, but there is help. You can listen to segments from Dan's show and new content on the Man Cave podcast. Check it out for yourself on your favorite podcasting platform.
Packers creating more cap space for this year, according to Field Yates, the first one to report it. The Packers have restructured the contract of Darnell Savage, creating $5.464 million for this year's cap space, according to Rob Domofsky, who followed that up, saying that he's told that they can, not to get into too many logistics here, but they did add voidable years, 20 for a few of them, 2024 to 2027, which, yeah, he had a cap hit this year of $7.9 million, which I think most of us would agree was probably fairly high for a player that has kind of performed like Savage has. But, you know, they were going to get out of it after this year, but now they're adding on those voidable years. So that part to me is a little interesting, but nonetheless, creating more cap space for this season. Packers restructuring that Darnell Savage contract. Interesting. So I have to wonder now, you know, the Rashawn Gary extension coming up here soon. But also today we'll find out the fifth-year option for Jordan Love. That fifth-year option, that hit ain't it for this year. That's for next year. So anybody thinking, could this help out for, you know, that fifth-year option helping out this year? It's for next year. Unless Could it be possible that maybe the Packers and Jordan Love are working on an extension? Oh, how about that? Breaking news. Literally just now. Breaking news about Jordan Love. Tom Pelissero saying the Packers have agreed to terms with Jordan Love on a new contract through 2024. Through 2024. Don't have the details yet, but Tom Pelissero just saying that the Packers have agreed to terms with Jordan Love on a new contract through 2024. Interesting. I'll be curious to see those details when they come out here. But we kind of threw out that possible scenario earlier this morning. Could they actually do a contract instead of giving him that 5th-year option? And it looks like they are. Let's see if we can get some numbers here. Yep, we got numbers. Packers and Jordan Love have agreed on a 1-year contract extension worth up to $22.5 million, including $13.5 million fully guaranteed. There you go. All right, I like it. We'll have more about this obviously tomorrow, but the interesting move. Packers avoiding the oh man, we got a lot of text coming in here now. Yeah, okay. I got to minimize the texting line. You guys are just chiming in all left and right here. I love it though. But the Packers avoiding giving him that 5th-year option and deciding to give him that new contract, a 1-year contract extension worth up to $22.5 million, including $13.5 million fully guaranteed. That to me tells me there's got to be some incentives boiling into this contract. There's got to be some, certain escalators that potentially he could hit. I can't wait to see some more details coming through with this contract, but the Packers getting a little creative with this thing. It's just kind of a foregone conclusion here that they were just going to give him the 5th-year option. That's what it seemed like a few years ago or a few months ago, excuse me, that when, Goody kind of hinted at, yeah, they already made that decision. And then right after the draft, he says, yeah, we got to figure something out here yet. It's a lot of money to give to a player who hasn't played it down yet. So Packers getting a little creative. Rather than picking up that $20.272 million option, the Packers gave Love a chance at potentially more upside with a bit of protection. Field Yates just said that the most unique 5th-year option choice comes to a close. Yeah, it definitely is the most unique 5th-year option choice. So it's a Packers protect themselves here with a potentially lower cap hit, but also gives Jordan Love the opportunity to earn just a little bit more money. Just a little bit more money. He could potentially earn more than what that cap hit or that guaranteed 5th-year option was going to make, but it also protects the Packers in case maybe he doesn't hit those bonuses and all that sort of stuff. So I like it. I like the move. I'm sure there'll be more info kind of boiling down through this thing. So make sure you're tuning online and such. We'll hit up more of it tomorrow morning. Maybe do a little podcast episode on this too as more information comes out. So reminder, Brewers are going to be in action tonight going up against the Colorado Rockies. Freddie Peralta on the mound, 7:40 first pitch. You can catch that game on 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Then we got Eric Lauer tomorrow, then Wade Miley with the series finale on Thursday. A lot of you, we asked that kind of informal poll question with the Bucks. If it came down to Chris Middleton or Brooke Lopez, who would you rather keep? Maybe a slight advantage to Brooke Lopez, but it's close. I didn't do a Twitter poll, so I'm just kind of basing it on all the text that kind of came in here. But slight advantage to Brooke Lopez. So thank you to all of you who chimed in on that. We'll have more, obviously, with the Bucks and their offseason talk and all that fun stuff. So as the season offseason kind of progresses here. All right, DP and the Danettes, they're up next. I'm sure they'll be talking about this Jordan Love tidbit here. Have a good rest of your Tuesday. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. We'll chat with you then.
You're listening to the Dan Patrick Show on WAYY Eau Claire, W286CK Eau Claire, Sports Talk 105.1.
You're out, you're about, but you want your Dan Patrick. Well, good news, he goes everywhere with you. If you missed the show, you can podcast it. If you want to see the show, just go to Peacock and we stream it live every weekday. Watch past episodes too. The Dan Patrick Show, available